make it too late for them. And we appreciate that they actually agreed to join live. So welcome. Today it's the VR Industry Forum third online event, and today we have the topic of VR trends and innovation from the Asia Pacific. I am Mauricio Racena, the VRIF president, working for Ericsson, and today I'm going to give you a short introduction of what we do, and then we will follow with the three talks, one from India with Chaitanya. The second one will be from Shao, progress and prospective of XR industry in China. And final, we have Seong Yong from ETRI, who will talk about what's going on in Korea. And finally, we have wrap up. So how this is going to work, you will be allowed, we have some 5 minutes question for after each talk. So prepare your question, write it in the chat if you don't want to speak up. But when they speak, we appreciate that you mute so we can stick to the time. So if that's okay, yes, please remember that we are recording the session today and will be available later for sharing to you, as well as the presentation will be posted on the VRIF webpage. So for those who don't know, what is VRIF? VRIF organization was created in 2017 at the CES. And the purpose, according to the bylaws, is to further the widespread availability of high-quality audiovisual VR experiences for the benefit of consumers. So at the beginning, it was mainly focused on VR. Today, we are slightly moving towards what, in general, we define as an XR, which is a combination, is whatever can be AR or mixed reality or VR at the same time. You will realize that technologies used for all those use cases are quite reusable for each of them. So who we are, this is the current membership that we have today. Each of them represent an important part of the value chain from with regards to VR and XR, from production to device, all the way with the distribution and encoding. And they've been active in doing a lot of work on mainly on the guidelines and also events that we have done it in the past 5 years. And also would like to give you some highlights and some information that may find useful, since we have the purpose to talk about what we do, what's happening with the technology. So we publish everything that is in work inside, so we are very open to the community. So you can subscribe to the newsletter where we talk about what's going on, the progress on VRIF, or what's happening around VR or XR. You can join the email list there. Obviously, you cannot click on the link there, but once the presentation are available, you can look how it is. This year, the beginning of the year, we released the latest guideline 2.3, which is mainly focused on the VR360 track, which I'm going to talk about that soon, what it is. But basically, we were the first to propose 8K profiles on VR. And then later we updated the spec to reflect the new standard of MPEG with HEVC and constraint profile, which basically means you can deliver VR at any resolution using the HEVC codec. And also recommendation and best practice around multi-view points and overlays, which is part of the OMAF version 2 standard from MPEG. And basically, this is quite important when it comes to monetization, because you can actually put targeted advertisement there, which is important for everyone who wants to run some business with VR. And then what's happening in the 2021, we normally are quite active in any event that's happening in the world. We are at NAB, we're at ABC, and other events that's we should talk about VR or XR. But unfortunately, with the pandemic, we're not able to travel too much and not to do much promotion on site, but still we try to be active with the community on VR, for instance, creating these sort of events that are free to everyone and open. You can have the recording from previous past events. You have the latest one that's happened today in the first quarter this year. And also whenever it's possible, we share what we do with other activities and events like Lava Virtual Europe, where you can read about what we talk about, and they have a link to the recorded session too. And just recently, last week, there was a conference in China about VRIndustry. This is the third time that we have been there. The main focus always is 5G cloud VR. And the first time we were on physically there, then the past two were from recorded sessions. That's with the advantage that actually you can see it because we have the links there. So the link of the last session last week about 5G cloud VR is quite interesting. It's 8-minute talk about how to achieve XR using the cloud and together with 5G. Link coming soon. Once we release the presentation, you will have the link to everything, and always you can go back to the VRIF webpage. So what's the focus of VRIF nowadays? So when we started, we only talk about VR 360, 3 degrees of freedom, traditional VR that everyone who has tried VR know what it is. And basically this track covers from end to end, from production to distribution and consumption spec. We have been working a lot on the guidelines. But then since VR is transformed to XR and the technology allows us to do much more interesting immersive services, we created several tracks in order to easily to track what's happening with different sort of technologies that map to different use cases. Although some technologies can be reused in this of the track, for instance, volumetric is something that you can capture assets like in the picture you see from several camera rays from outside in, and you create a volumetric asset. And we talk about how to capture, how to compress and distribute it to an end user. Social VR is something that we wanted to address because since it's important when it comes to add a social factor or remove the isolation factor that you get when you have only VR 360, and addresses aspect of communication and networking parts and how to connect different type of devices. That's as there can be one mobile phone, can be one computer, can be one different headset for head-mounted display, how we actually connect all of them to create a social VR immersive experience. And the last part, which is so far we've been focused on doing presentation, and we hope the next year is going to be more writing guidelines, is about 5G cloud, which actually cover aspect how to best utilize 5G and 5G edge cloud technologies to improve the support of advanced immersive services. A good introduction of that is the talk that we actually gave to China last week. So you will be available to read that, listen and see what it is in the recording that will be available soon in VRIF. So these are the 4 tracks and all work in parallel depending how you want to write. So this has been the roadmap and guidelines roadmap that we have in VR. As I mentioned before, VR 360 was the beginning of VR. We started to deliver in focus on 3 degrees of freedom. We have the guidelines 1.1, 2.0, and so on. We end up in 2.3. You can read about how we actually been added new stuff to that, depending how the technology evolves, and make it easier and more appealing to the end user perspective. And then what we're actually focusing today, it's about volumetric. We are going to release a guideline, standalone guideline, volumetric 1.0. We didn't want it to include together to the previous guidelines because otherwise it will be a too big document, and we want to just focus the reader to understand just parts that are related to volumetric. And this is something that we soon are going to release. And then we continue, of course, working next year with more advanced solutions at the same time when you have 5G cloud. So this is basically a moving summary because we update depending on how the membership works on this one. But this is basically a high-level overview how we are working today and look at the different versioning of the documents we have. And then, as I mentioned before, the volumetric 1.0 guidelines is going to be about volumetric streaming using point cloud compression technologies. We didn't have the bandwidth to address meshes compression and so on, but this is something that probably we'll address next year. The public draft for external review is going to be around December, so stay tuned on that. We will make you know about that by several channels we have for communication. And then after we get input and review, we will probably have the final public release about January, February 2022, depending how the winter break or summer break, depending on where you are, it's going to be. if we have membership working heavily on January. And from that, we're going to back to the agenda here. I want to introduce Chaitanya. He's very active in communicating and talking about VR. We are very happy to have him talking about VR. I'm going to give you presenter. Are you there? Yes, I can see you at least. Yes. Can you share your presentation now? Yes, I see your screen now. So welcome. So you have like up to 20 minutes plus 5-minute question if you want, and give you the room. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mauricio, and hello everybody. So what I'd like to talk about is how over the last 3 years Whistling Woods has worked with various aspects of the industry to create India's first generation of cinematic VR filmmakers, and while doing so, we have also kind of push the envelope when it comes to creating content of certain types in order to lay down curriculum and standards for the same, right? And when I say standards, I don't mean on the tech side, but I mean more on the content, workflow, pipelines, etc., those areas. So, so this was the problem statement for cinematic VR that we saw in 2018, when this was being tackled by the world. Now, the good thing about this is that we, as a film school, Whistling Woods, we didn't need to tackle all this because there were various organizations that were handling various aspects of this problem statement. So, standards, VRIF themselves were one of the few people who were taking care of it. That there was security, acquisition, and data management. I mean, it's hyperdynamic. It's like a perpetual battle. It's never going to get solved. So there was file formats, workflows. There's the software pipelines, which were continuously being developed. The computing requirements were hyperdynamic. So the idea was that we as an institute had to keep our focus on content creation and building awareness. And that's when we started to look at VR as the fourth content consumption platform. So there's film or theatrical, there's television, there's digital OTT, and there's VR. And the nature of content consumption, the nature of the platform, the nature of viewing informs the kind of content that gets created, right? And which is really what we wanted to focus on. So film is captive community viewing, and TV is non-captive family viewing, digital is non-captive individual viewing, and VR is captive individual viewing. And there are other aspects to each of these content. Some are fixed frame, some VR is the first one that's frameless. We had a broad duration that we had defined for each of these formats. VR, the broad kind of outline was between 60 seconds and 60 minutes. That is what everybody thought it would be, even though there's very, very few 60-minute long pieces of content, but there are some. And most importantly, it was the USP, right? What does the content mean? So the fact that it's a larger than life audiovisual narrative spectacle, and what television offers, what OTT offers, and what VR offers. So what we knew was immersive and interactive is all we know currently, or is all we knew back in 2018, and we had to figure out what these question marks were, and that was our goal. That was our a plan to make sure that we worked on it. So we set up the lab. The vision of the lab was simple: to work with all stakeholders, platforms, tech creators, content creators, viewers, and most importantly, the industry, to ensure proliferation of VR as the fourth platform. And in order to do that, the mission was to create India's first generation of cinematic VR content creators. So before we did that, we had to get the industry on board, and we needed a principal partner for that. and that became Reliance Jio. So Reliance Jio today is one of the world's largest telecom companies. It has over 450 million subscribers, and it's just 5 years old. It started in 2016. And 2018, when we were looking for a principal partner to run the lab and to kind of co-brand the lab with, they stepped up, just like various organizations work with various labs all across the world. So Jio partnered with us. And not just that, we had a bunch of technology partners that came on board. So everybody from Apple to HP, from Insta to Candau, we had Pro Tools, Sennheiser, the whole Dear VR and that Spatial Connect. We had Mystica, NVIDIA, Unreal, Unity. So we managed to get a good plethora of tech partners on board. Some of them contributed hardware, most of them contributed training and kind of access to beta softwares, access to beta upgrades of software patches as well as hardware in some cases. The next is we needed a advisory board. We needed brains trust that we could rely on, that we could pick up the phone and call in case we needed help. We managed to put together a good set of people. So we had the head of Intel VR. We had Chris, who was the ex-head of Immersive of Adobe and founder of Metal. Julina and Lewis were content creators who had created fiction narrative content in VR, and then a few others from gaming engines and a couple of other creative technologists. And then we decided to do workshops. So we organized a lot of workshops. We got people to come over to India to do workshops with the lab, with the student, with us, to start to get our foundation straight on cinematic VR, what it means for content creation in 360. So just some photographs of the same. And then we also decided to reach out to the local industry because we realized that we were not the only people in India who were doing work on it. We wanted to try and get the larger VR community on board to make sure that everybody understood what the other person was doing and we could learn off each other. So we ended up organizing a year-long series of workshops, starting from 2018 May to 2019 April, where we managed to bring together most of the leading operators in virtual reality in India. Some of those photographs. We also managed to do a lot of work and put together kind of a global outreach where we ended up writing a lot of the reports and a lot of how should I say, strategy, and we kind of became thought leaders for cinematic VR in India. So we wrote the FICCI ENY media report, the entire VR section. Select is a global association of film schools. Whistling Woods is a member of Select, and in 2018 we hosted the Select World Congress, and the topic of that was, one of the kind of key focuses on that was how to include the education of cinematic VR in film education. And we managed to get 170, 180 film schools of the world to participate. Their deans and academic heads were on campus for the same. There were paper presentations, there were discussions, there were curriculum conversations. And then I also presented at IBC 2 years ago, and also at the International Film Festival of India 2 years ago. We then started to bring in industry professionals to start to do workshops. Right? Once we were aware of how we could educate the industry professionals on the tech workflows, then we started to bring them in to use and tap their skill set on creating 360 VR content. And that's where we learned from the commercial Indian industry, from Bollywood, from various areas, as much as they learned from us. So we ended up achieving and shooting multiple both fiction and non-fiction shorts. So both as complete pieces as well as experimental shoots. Each of them had detailed academic oversight where every single decision that was taken while the content was being created was weighed, and there was an analysis and a tracking of that decision all the way from the decision being made to what impact it had on the final film and whether it was a positive one or not. So that enabled us to distill out a set of best practices into a curriculum for cinematic VR. And that has now since been incorporated into the Whistling Woods filmmaking program, the full-time filmmaking program. And if the lockdown of the pandemic hadn't happened, we would have also started continuing education, shorter workshops and programs for the industry. So starting from the batch that graduates next year, all Whistling Woods graduates will be VR ready. Our goal is to make sure that every single of our 250, 300 graduates who pass out know how to create fiction narrative or non-fiction narrative content in 360 VR. Just some of the photographs of the content that we've created. So we decided to kind of go both ends. So one film, this was done, the one you see on the left was entirely a closed set inside our studio. And the second one that we shot was entirely outdoors, where we used no existing, there was no set that was created. We only shot in real locations because we wanted to make sure that, we're able to put the workflow together in both a controlled and an uncontrolled setup. Right? This is the first of our non-fiction projects that we've done. So the two non-fiction projects that we picked up that we decided to do, both were very different. I don't know how many of you all know the Kumbh Mela. So the Kumbh Mela is the world's largest gathering of humanity. So in 2019, so the Kumbh happens every 6 years, and the larger size Kumbh happens every 12 years, and a smaller one happens every 6 years. So in 2019, we had over 230 million people who visited Prayagraj, which is the location of the Kumbh, between 15th Jan and 4th March. And the lab team was there at the Kumbh, spent over a month capturing many hours of content of the Kumbh to be made into a Kumbh VR series. So we've made one part of this, but we have captured this content in 6K. And as time goes by and as headsets start to get better and better, we have already started working on cutting it into a series. Now, this content has no expiry. This is a forever piece of content, because the kind of shots that we've taken and the kind of footage we've got is never ever going to happen again. Right? So the other some more we've cut a 7-minute segment of the Kumbh, which I'm happy to share links with you, YouTube links with you. Y'all can watch it at your convenience. The other project we decided to take up was a really long-standing project. This was almost 4.5 year long project. So in Mumbai currently, there is a metro being constructed. It's one of the world's longest underground single metro lines, which is 35.5 kilometers long. And Mumbai itself as a city is a 70% reclaimed city. So this was a very complex project. And we have the opportunity, we knew that in our lifetimes, this is never going to happen again. And we had the opportunity to document the making, the construction, coming together of the metro. And we've been working with the Mumbai Metro Rail Corporation now for about 2.5 years, documenting key events of the metro. So things like tunnel breakthroughs, we've put VR camera inside a tunnel boring machine, so that people really get a first-hand view of how tunneling happens. We've acquisition gear on top of cranes all over the place. Right. So these are some shots of this. So we will hope to get about 25-30 hours of footage between 2019 and 2023 before we put together the final output, which is going to go into the Metro Museum that is being constructed. We've got a lot of media coverage for what we've been doing. So we believe that this was important because until and unless you do have outreach and the industry is not aware of the fact that VR is very much a reality and it's mainstream, it's here, there are people who are doing it. So this is, the Mint is the Wall Street Journal's kind of newspaper in India. So we got a front page coverage of the work really covered. We've done a lot of industry outreach, both filmmakers, so that's essentially what we've been doing. So where is the lab now and what next? So where we are now is cinematic VR is part of the Whistling Woods curriculum being taught to all film and media students. Whistling Woods has structured a special cinematic VR short program for industry professionals. We hope to roll it out by January once things open up a little bit more. What next? We've already started moving on to 6DoF VR experiences now. We've built our own indigenous workflow pipelines for volumetric capture as well as photogrammetry. And using the Azure Connect sensors, as well as several softwares at various stages of beta, alpha, beta, and now final release. And we've managed to get good outputs from them. We've also started to put them into practice. So there is a film currently that where a key part of the film, key characters have been created using volumetric capture, and that's currently doing the rounds of festivals. So we look at integration of photogrammetry, volumetric capture into creating 6DoF VR experiences. So that's where we are, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Chaitanya. Yeah, I
stop
have
sharing?
here some questions for you. First question is exactly what is the capture resolution, and what is the resolution for consumption on the movies you made?
So they've been shot on both 6K and 8K. So on the Candau Obsidian R and S, as well as the Insta360 Pro and the Insta360 Pro 2. We will also start to work on the Titan as well as some of the earlier shots were taken on customized rigs where DSLRs were mounted. So all in all, we would look at about at least a minimum 4K to 6K acquisition. I think 6K in most cases. The problem with playback right now is that there aren't too many headsets that are 4K per eye, right? And that's also one of the reasons why we've kind of held back on doing too much work on the Metro initially, as well as on the Kumbh, because there's no point creating all this content if you don't have the excellent headsets that are needed to see it, right? So we're waiting for a wide array, a wide spectrum of 2K per eye or 4K per eye headsets to emerge. And then we will then rely on excellent distribution workflows and pipelines that are being created. One of them, I can see Rob is part of this team. So, you know, what he's been doing with tiled media and clear VR, that's fantastic. So we're looking at building out, waiting actually for a good distribution and quality headsets to emerge before we roll it out. That said, that doesn't stop us from continuing to do our own creative as well as academic R&D work on the content without kind of bothering too much on the final output quality right now.
Okay. And do you have any information on the audience sizes of your productions? How many viewers?
So the Kumbh, when it does release, we're expecting at least 1 million people to watch it in the first year. I mean, it's a very how should I say? It's a very sought after piece of content. We've had several high level officials from the Indian central government who visited the campus many times just to kind of view the 7-minute segment that we have created so far. And where this is expected to go in every single large museum in the country. This is expected to be syndicated to every large film festival globally. So our goal is for 1 million people to see it in the first year once it's ready. When it comes to the metro, we're not so sure because that is more, when people are kind of who are really passionate about engineering and construction and large projects, they would be the ones to see it. But that will have its presence in National Geographic coverage as well as in the Metro Museum that is being created. So the second piece of content, we're not so sure. The fiction pieces of content, the 2-3 fiction pieces of content we've created, I'm not so sure at this point of time what the audience for that would be. But given the fact that it is Reliance Jio that is our partner, and Jio is pretty much the primary VR ecosystem in India at this point of time. They're the ones that are launching the first indigenous headsets. They're the ones who are launching the first indigenous distribution mechanism, both on fiber as well as on 4G, and soon to be launched on 5G. So we're hoping for the fiction short films to do well as well.
Okay, anyone from the audience still has a question? Please raise your hands or put it in the chat. No, I don't see it. Then I just have a last question for you, and especially looking at VRIF. So how important was standardization in the guidelines on 360 VR for your work?
It was very important. So when we actually, if you look at it over a 3-year period, we've almost rewritten our SOPs, I would say 3 or 4 times. We've got everything from how do you write the scripts to how do you do the blocking to whether you shoot 360 all the time or you shoot 180 in 2 patches and have the crew turn around, to how do you direct actors, to how do you rehearse with actors, to how do you shoot for post. So each of these has been reviewed and reviewed and reviewed almost after every day or every schedule of shoot. So whereas the technical standards, we've looked at what the VRIF has been doing, and we've broadly ended up following those. But for us, it's really more about guidelines. It's more about production guidelines and how do we bring those to the industry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for this interesting talk.
Yeah, so I mean, if you've kind of got half a second, I could just quickly show you a minute or so of the Kumbh.
अस्तित्व 3000 वर्ष पुराना है,
So
किंतु इतिहास में इसका पहला उल्लेख 7वीं शताब्दी में चीन देश से आए यात्री.
So this will give you a good sense of what the it's like. It's a new city that is created, a 40 square kilometer large city that gets created with 300 kilometers of roads and over 230 million people visit it over a 50-day period. So we've interviewed the Naga sadhus that come down from the Himalayas for it. We've interviewed the army unit that is kind of deployed to take care of the Kumbh. We've interviewed, we've looked at the dips that they take in the Ganga. We've done day shoots, we've done night shoots, we've done static camera, we've done moving camera. We put the camera inside a helicopter. We almost put the camera inside the water a couple of times, and thankfully we had good housing for that. So we've tried to do as much as we could with it to make sure that we're able to really extract, put the production through as rigorous a situation as possible to enable people to understand that yes, you can make VR. We've done supers, obviously, as you can see. We're going to be doing more and more and more of this packaging. So yeah, I mean, I don't know whether the quality is even good enough, because YouTube really streams not good quality. So I wish I was streaming on. Yeah. So I wish I was streaming on Clear VR, but I can't.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaitanya. It was very interesting to see all the work you've done and basically shaping new directors to make it VR. That's very interesting.
Thank you so much.
Now we go. Yeah. So now we go for next topic. We're gonna switch to Shao Gang. His presentation is recorded, but he's available for question at the end. So please, Chris.
Hello, my name is Shao Gang, the Director of Video and XR Industry Development in Huawei. Huawei is one of the founding members of VRIF, and I'm very happy to have this opportunity to give a brief introduction about progress and the perspective of XR industry in China. This is the outline of my talk. First, I will give a brief introduction of China XR industry. And second, 6 major industry trends are listed. And third, I will introduce 2 main industry organizations about VR, AR, and video, which is VRPC and KUA. We got these dates from IDC in 2020. The global spending on AR/VR related products and services in the Chinese market accounted for more than half of the global market share, about 55%, a significant increase from before the epidemic. The overall market size of China will reach around $60.6 billion by the end of 2020. Surpassing the United States and Japan in terms of scale and growth, the ranking first in the world. At the same time, the 5-year CAGR, which from 2020 to 2024 of Chinese market, will also remain at a level of about 47%. At the right hand, we can see consumer, distribution and services, public sector, manufacturing and resources, financial, infrastructure are top 6 spending industry sectors. This is the XR value chain landscape in China, from China Academic of Information and Communications Technology, 2021. So for XR industry, China is not only a huge market, but also have almost complete supplier chains. But we also can see that most of the advanced hardware and software are not in China now. The main applications of XR includes entertainment, training, marketing, manufacture, architecture, and healthcare. There are more than 20,000 XR-related companies according to 2020's statistics. VRPC defined the 5-degree XR industry maturity model. Industry will grow from level 0 to level 4, which means full immersion. We could see from the diagram, we are in level 2 at 2021. It named partial immersion. In this period, XR technologies and products are rapidly growth, and the ecosystem are under construction. The next level is level 3, where VR/AR applications will be largely scale used. And this is the XR technology landscape from VRPC. It's a 5 horizontal and 2 vertical technical system, which contains the 5 key technology categories: near-eye display technology, perception and interaction technology, network transmission technology, rendering processing technology, and content creation technology. These 5 technologies will be implemented in hardware component device and software tools of platform. The right hand is the technology system tree. The 5 main branches represent 5 technology categories, and the sub-branches and leaves represent the subcategories and the specific technologies. Different color of leaves presents the different maturity of this technology. In the next several pages, I'll give some insights of XR industry in China. These are the new AR and VR terminal which launched or go to market from January this year to September this year. We list the company name and the product name in the table. There are 17 VR terminals and 22 AR terminals. And we could see 14 of 17 VR terminals and 15 of 22 AR terminals are from Chinese company. So it's very active innovation about XR terminal products in China market. Dual 5G here means 5G and F5G. F5G is the 5th generation fixed networks, which proposed by ETRI F5G ISG, represented by 10G-PON technology. By the end of August 2021, China has built more than 1 million 5G base stations, accounting for more than 70% of the global total. The number of the 5G terminal connections extends 400 million, accounting for 80% of the global total. 5G signals has covered all cities, 97% counties, and 40% townships. China's huge infrastructure construction drive XR service innovation. There are 2 national contexts. First one is 绽放 Cup 5G application contest, which has been held for 4 years. For example, this year there are nearly 400 projects in XR track. The other is Guanghua Cup 5G application contest, which is the first year. So China's 3 major carriers, China Mobile, China Telecom, and China Unicom, all set up XR platforms for 2G and 2B services. 3 carriers bundled the XR services with 5G or F5G packages. There are tens of millions of registered users already. So AR services are more and more popular, integrated with navigation, advertising, travel guidance, and interactive games. So let's see this video.
有优惠券。哇，红包雨，有宝箱。 下一个打卡点吧。好啊。
So besides the traditional education and training services, there are several interesting vertical scenarios, have widely deployment and have gained commercial value. One is online via real estate, rental and sale. There are more than 3 million real estate VR contents online already, and using VR content could improve the exposure of real estate sources and shorten the transaction period. The other is VR driving training. There are around 30 million new driver's licenses will be registered nationwide in 2021. VR driving training is a hot topic this year. Will decrease the cost of driving training and shorten the period. The last trend is metaverse. Metaverse concept is introduced to China in the first half of this year. The VR AR startup companies get investment in this round, and the OTT giants such as Tencent and ByteDance, which is TikTok, have invested more in VR AR content and terminal. ByteDance acquired Pico using about 1.4 billion US dollars. Chinese media compare this event with Facebook acquired Oculus. In the last part of my talk, I will introduce two important industry organizations which built in China. The first one is VRPC, the Virtual Reality Promotion Committee. Although its name is VR, it also covered AR and MR. It was founded on December 2017 by China Academic of International Communications Technology, China Mobile, China Unicom, and China Telecom, Huawei, and BOE. It now has 51 members, which covers end-to-end of XR industry. The promotion committee identified top 10 key challenges in the cloud XR industry, from terminal, content creation, content distribution, network, which includes 5G and Wi-Fi, GPU, device and cloud collaboration, commercial use case, and XR experience evaluation. It also built 4 working groups, showroom, and experience evaluation labs, the different industrial partners working together. Here is one output from VRPC, the general standard for XR. This standard enabling applications to reach a wider array of hardware platform without having to rewrite their code, and allowing platform vendors supporting GSSR access to more applications. With the release of GSSR 1.4.0 specification, AR/VR developers can now create a cross-platform XR experience. The other industry organization is KUA, in order to drive the development of UHD industry in China. Some leading enterprises jointly established KUA, a non-governmental and non-profit industry organization. Up to now, the alliance has 141 members, including the leading enterprises engaged in manufacturing, transmission, content production, application, and service of UHD products. They have built up industry development benchmarks by taking advantage of all aspects. In order to solve the common problems faced by UHD industry, such as high patent fee, high production costs, and other issues, KUA is committed to build an open and industry-friendly standard ecosystem that involves entire ecosystem enterprises to ensure fast implementation of standards. KUA has published a number of standards, including audio and video standards, interface standards, certification and testing standards, and implementation guidelines. KUA launched the HDR Vivid standards in September 2020. It's a new option for HDR technology. The HDR Vivid standards is an open HDR video standard, and its source code is open to Alliance members. HDR Vivid has made positive momentum in end-to-end ecosystem establishment, which include content production tools, video platform applications, chip manufacturers, TV and phone and pads. And there are over 10,000 hours HDR Vivid content available. Now, the Alliance has started to discuss HDR Vivid deployment in VR industry.
Hello, this is Seong for ETRI, South Korea. First of all, thanks for having this opportunity, and definitely it is a huge honor for me. The title of the final presentation of today is Recent Activities on Immersive Video Experience, Panoramic Video, VR, and XR. I hope you enjoy yourself well. Here is today's agenda: Panoramic Video, VR and MOS2S, and XR and AI powered. Actually, ETRI and our partners have been working on multiple camera use cases, for instance, panoramic video and especially real-time applications with many different types of wide field of view videos. So from now on, I will introduce our experience with multiple camera use cases. Before starting the presentation, I want to introduce ETRI since some of you guys may not be aware of ETRI. So ETRI is a research institute in South Korea and is mostly funded by the government. ETRI was established about 45 years ago, and ETRI has been working on many types of IT technologies, including wireless network, digital media, and even semiconductors. Here are the representative numbers of ETRI. The total number of employees is about, and more than half of employees have PhD degrees. Here are the several main keywords which were very well known and very important in this area. When the movie Avatar came around 2002, 3D, especially stereoscopic 3D technologies were studied and developed in Korea also. At the time, we tried to apply digital broadcasting technologies and 3D technologies into the 2002 World Cup games. In 2016, Oculus launched a HMD called Oculus Rift. Similarly, there were several VR rigs and HMD models from Korea. Before the VR era, around 2011, ETRI started to develop a set of technologies for a wide field of view videos, also known as panoramic video. This slide enlists very new keywords: XR production, volumetric video, and metaverse. I believe most research institutes must join this area, and ETRI has been also working on them. In this presentation, I want to also introduce ETRI's experiences on XR production. The first agenda is panoramic video. Actually, ETRI defined a new term, UWV, ultra wide vision, which includes the 12K by 2K resolution video. Around 2011, after the stereoscopic 3D period, there were many directions to achieve an immersive experience. Resolutions, 10 bits, wide gamma, surround audio. One of the ETRI teams was looking at the possibility of the wide field of view video. Actually, it was not very bright since not many people have wide displays or huge multiple panel displays. On the other hand, we assumed that the wide field of view technologies could be useful maybe for the exhibition site with huge displays. So we studied regarding the panoramic video. In this presentation, here are the components to provide panoramic video in real time. First of all, multiple camera system should provide a wide field of view with enough resolution. Someone says you could provide the wide field of view with only very wide or very fisheye lenses, but we wanted to have the enough resolution also. So we built two types of camera rigs because of the very close optical center. So we built two different type of camera rigs. One is very generic one, horizontal rig, and the other one is pyramid type using mirrors. Also, in order to watch and check the multiple camera feed at the capture site, so we implemented the monitoring and preview software was accompanied. Now, a video stitching system provide a seamless panoramic video in real time, and through the encoding and the streaming components, you could see the panoramic video with multiple projections or panel displays. One of the problem we had at the time was how to transmit the 12K by 2K videos from capture side to the rendering side, because there was no solution to encode and streaming them. So therefore we used the existing 4K encoders and streaming solutions with proprietary synchronization mechanisms also. Now I could show a demo video. We try to apply this panoramic video technologies into many types of applications. For instance, sightseeing, virtual city tour, amusement park, cultural events. One of the key applications was ice sports due to the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games. At that preparation time for the Olympic Games, we brought our whole system into an ice stadium and a ski slope. In order to avoid any boredom when just looking at one side panoramic video, we used two sets of multiple camera and one set captured multiple camera systems, and one multiple camera rig captured the center of the stadium, as you can see, and the other one was capturing for the starting line. For rendering, multiple panel displays was set up at the Incheon airport, and we transmitted the panoramic video in real time. So next, after the Oculus Rift was released and VR came with HMD devices. Before starting the VR application, I want to introduce the MOS2S, actually the past project. MOS2S is a European project of ETRI, and ETRI is a Eureka cluster program which was operated from 2016 to 2019. 4 countries, including Belgium, the Netherlands, Turkey, and South Korea, joined the project to provide audiovisual smart city technologies, and MOS2S was awarded after the project for Special ITEA Vice Chairman's Award. The main use cases of MOS2S were immersive experiences with a wide field of video for sports and public live events, and the cloud-sourced journalism in news production in smart city venues. It was a very good opportunity for us to show our panoramic video technologies and even VR. One of the results from MOS2S is the intercontinental live sports event transmission from Europe to Korea. Because during the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympic Games, country coordinators, we had the country coordinators meeting in Korea, and we discussed the second use case of MOS2S, and we decided to have an intercontinental field test. The reason why we could imagine the intercontinental transmission, fortunately, we could use a very wide and very fast fiber network for research purposes. The special network has been operated by Surfnet on the Dutch side and Kisti from Korea. So, therefore, we built a VLAN setup from Amsterdam, Montreal, Chicago, and Korea. You are looking at the professional video which explains the activity. So we set up the 3 screens at the VIP lounge of the Yong Arena. We brought our whole camera systems, stitching, and the encoding systems. So also here are the other results of MOS2S from Korea side. At the top left, you could see the panoramic video, which shows a national friendly soccer match in Amsterdam. And at the time, we transmitted it to Korea. The resolution is 12K by 2K. With this video, our partner TNO also implemented a virtual VIP lounge at the right top side, including the panoramic video, and you could enjoy it through HMD. At the bottom side, you could see the AKVR real-time stitching results. With the stitching was performed with multiple 4K inputs, and one of the use cases of MOS2S was cloud journalism. Also, so based on the 360 VR video, Belgium partners developed speech recognition, and the Turkish partners built motion recognition using face recognition. I'm very sorry I have to cover the faces on the 360 VR video because of the copyright. So far, I explained the past results from the past project, but from now on, I'm going to introduce ongoing project and their several results regarding the AI-powered object tracking and detection and tracking, and XR production. Object detection and tracking has been a very old and common academic item. Without any AI contributions, we already used the flow-based object tracking or many different type of object tracking technologies. You could easily see the surveillance cameras with the tracking algorithms, or recently, with help from AI, convolution networks, object detection and tracking algorithms are very well published as time goes on. Normally, dynamic object in a scene must be more important than others, so we could easily estimate which object should be captured in a wide field of video. On the left side, there is a soccer field, and you could see a result of the multiple object tracking algorithm for a soccer game. So we applied the tracking algorithm to decide ROI on the other, also known as camera tracking area. So the left side of the centered video was manually tracked, while the right bottom side of the centered video was automatically tracked now. So we tried to apply those technology for the mobile phone, and through the mobile phone, you could see the whole ground area also, and automatically or manually tracked video. Also, object tracking could be useful for the public events. So singers or actors could be tracked, and ROI also could be selected. It means we could select the ROI area, camera tracked area with useful dynamic object. Also again, very sorry for the inconvenience at the right bottom side video due to the copyright issue. So right bottom side, you could see the real-time object tracking results for the K-pop idol, and there is a re-identification algorithm to identify who is who. Also, virtual production. Virtual production, or also known as XR production, was used at film factories. With a big LED display or chroma key wall, you could shoot beautiful films like Mandalorian or Interstellar. This 3D XR composition tool has been used for for live public event with real-time camera position, orientation, and FOV tracking devices, and 3D composition tools, for instance, Unreal engines. So there are in this slide there are multiple components for the live XR production chain. Now, we try to apply the XR production tool with the existing wide field of view, panoramic creating chain. The red boxes are new for chroma video and real-time camera tracker, NCAM, and the 3D composition tool Zero Display. For the end-to-end and non-contact public event transmission with XR production, we brought our existing panoramic video system, including 2 multiple camera sets and real-time stitching and transmission system at the public event site. And right top video is the normal result from the panoramic video system, which is the same before, but bottom right side, one is composed 3D space with a panoramic video, a single video, and a remote chroma video. I will show details at the next slide. At the bottom side, you can see the 3 red boxes. One is a wide panoramic video you could easily find, and the right red box is a single video, which is from the official broadcasting program, and the green background one, small background one, is captured at the remote side with a green background. So you could see the left top side, the composed one. You cannot see any green background because we applied the key real-time matting module, and the whole scene was composed in real time. So right middle side, I want to show the whole live event system with XR production tool and the real-time stitching tools. That's it. Those are my presentations regarding the panoramic video, VR, and ongoing XR and AR related project. So I hope you could enjoy, and this presentation could help you to imagine the next broadcasting technologies. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, that's we want to thank all our speakers today for contributing. We're very interested talks about what they're doing and why VR is getting interested nowadays. And before we conclude, if you're interested in joining or knowing more about VRIF, you have this link so you can know more, or contact us via any of the channel you can find in LinkedIn, for instance.